I want all of you to understand this. If she is the hottest that you have ever been with, you've already lost her. Even if that hurts to hear, I'll say it one more time. If she is the hottest that you have ever been with in your whole life, you're having all those thoughts when you two are sleeping together. You're banging her. It's real good. You think she's so beautiful. You're sitting there going, oh my gosh, look at the smile on her. Look at her hair. I'm going to marry this woman. I love her so much. Oh, it feels so good. If she's the hottest you've ever been with, you have already lost her. If she's the hottest you've ever been with, you are already about to lose her. You are going to lose her. I think that anybody who comments on this video can testify to this as well, because you will notice that it is very, very true. Now, there's some reasonings for this, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, because I'm about to be 30 years old this year, and I have a framework for how I've carried my own life. And I thought of this today, and I'd like to share it with you. But the first thing we have to address is we have to address this one thing, and why wisdom and learned experience only comes with time. It only comes with painful lessons, and it only comes with heartbreak. You as a man are only going to transform into your best self through heartbreak and through frustration and through figuring out what not to do. I don't care what anybody else tells you. There's going to be a lot of influencers that you watch or that you see that want to talk about dating, and people will ask them and say, have you ever been heartbroken? And most of them are probably going to lie to you and tell you no, because they want to protect their social image or their reputation, or they want to look like the man. Because I don't care how I look at all, for the most part, and I like to just have these discussions with you to get you the right information, I'm going to tell you this. Every single man that you see has been through something that has molded him into who he is. And it was most likely because of a woman. That's not good or bad, that just is. That's how life typically unfolds. But if she's the hottest that you've ever been with, you have already lost her, and here's why. Your mannerisms in your speech, the way you look at her, the way you smile, she's going to notice that you have a little sparkle in your eye that's way different. And you're going to look at her differently, and you're going to treat her differently than you would anybody else. And she's going to feel in her heart of hearts like she means a lot to you, and that's going to turn her off, because she's going to wonder what she did to deserve this treatment. And then she's going to realize that she didn't do anything to deserve this treatment. She's just pretty. And to her, that's not going to be a good enough reason, because she has not had to earn you. So that's the first lesson. The second thing you have to understand is your sub-communication, okay? And what that means is the nuances in your speech and your vocal tone changes when you're around her. This is going to be subconscious on your end, but it is going to happen. And then last but not least is this one very important thing. If she's the hottest that you've ever been with, you will notice that you typically have run-on sentences. Run-on sentences means that if you go through all of your text message history, right? Let's say you two were dating for 4 or 5 months and you lost her. I would almost guarantee that if you went back and you read your text messages and you looked at what you were saying and what you were doing, you were over-explaining, or you were sending too many words at a time. And this probably even showed up when you were talking to her one-to-one in real life. If you look at your text messages, you use 10 words when 7 would have done the trick. You use 15 words in that sentence or in those sentences when you could have got your point across with 8 or 9 words. And because you over-explained, because you over-communicated, because you said too much, because you were very clear. See, this is the thing. The hotter the woman gets, the more you feel as if you're needing to be extremely clear, so that way there's no room for interpretation. You're going to notice this if your interest isn't as high. You'll just send some text messages. There's probably no punctuation. You don't care, and you almost feel as if, you know, it's her job to figure out where that text goes or what those words mean and what you actually meant, and you just understand and you have full trust and full confidence that she'll just figure it out and then she'll respond to you. Well, you don't do that with the hot woman. The hot woman, you're very specific with what you say. It's very crystal clear. It's almost worded in a way where it's a bit weird, because she looks at it and she goes, why is this so Why is this formatted this way? And you're going to notice your communication pattern is different. Well, how do you fix all this? Okay, how do you change this, and how do you actually level up as a man? Okay, and on top of that, how do you level up as a man without losing who you actually are? See, there's a lot of guys, they lose themselves to pick-up tactics, they lose themselves to different manosphere influencers, and they are neglecting the fundamentals of what makes a man a man. They are neglecting the fundamentals of purpose and identity, okay? There's 3 things that I wrote down today. As I approach my 30s and I look back on my life, what are the things that I'm doing? What are the things that I'm looking at? What is my mindset like? There's 3 things, okay? The very first principle, okay? Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell you the whole framework first, and then we're going to go through each and every one by one. What I wrote down on my notebook today, there's 3 things that a man must do. First is seek God. Number 2 would be survive. And number 3 would be replicate. This is super simple. Super simple. The reason why I wrote it down like this, and the reason why it sounds like an absolute no-brainer, is because this is common knowledge. However, common knowledge is not always common practice. We live in a world today where men complicate things. People complicate things. Doesn't matter if it's television, movies, music. People's minds go in a million different directions all day. And you lose the fundamental of what it means to be a human being. A human being, there's multi-dimensions to you, there's multi-parts to you, right? Some days you're happy, some days you're sad, some days you feel good, some days you're confident, some days you're not, and that's anybody. I don't care how tall you are, I don't care how much money you make, I don't care where you're at with your career. Every single man is going to go through some things. Well, when I wanted to boil down what it actually means to be a human being and to be a man that can actually succeed and get ahead and attract hot women and actually live a life that's meaningful, I think it comes down to these 3 things. And if I really look at where my mind and my vision and my focus is going, especially over the past 18 months now as I approach my 30s, this is the core framework that I'm looking at. Number 1, I wrote down seek God. Number 2, survive. And number 3, replicate. Here's what happens when you seek God, okay? I wholeheartedly believe in God. I think a lot of you who have watched this channel know this about me. I definitely have an element of faith, and I think that it's very important. I think that me as a human being, I think that it's absolutely amazing that if I just tell myself to move my hand, I can move it. I think that that's a godlike feature, that we can think and we can speak and we can do these things and we have consciousness. I think that that's a blessing, and I think that most people overlook that, okay? The fact that I can look at my hand and I go, move my pointer finger and it moves, and I can say, move my pinky and it moves, that is amazing to me. So I think as a human being, as a man, okay, you have to seek God, and that's number 1. And the reason why that's number 1 is because you can't get to number 2 and number 3 without this. You can, but you're going to have a brutal path, and I'll explain why. When you seek God, okay, and you're focusing on your God-given calling, your God-given mission, you can say this in a lot of different ways. You can call it your God-given mission, you can call it your God-given purpose. There's a lot of guys that get really, the language that they use is really emotionally charged, and I'm not trying to do it like that. I'm trying to just get you the point across here, okay? When you seek God, you can hopefully find your purpose or your calling in life because you see what skills you have. And when you see what skills you have, you can step into your identity, okay? Me, I believe that I was good at speaking, and I believe that I was good at speaking and talking to other men. So I stepped into that calling. You see what I'm saying? I stepped into that calling, which allowed me to get to point number 2, which is survive. Okay, when you look at survival in general, okay, the reason why this is number 2 in my framework is because if you don't seek God, it's going to be hard for you to understand what God-given skills you were blessed with, to understand where to put your time. So this is where when you see guys chasing money, for example, they're typically lost, or they become lost souls, because they're always just looking for the way to make the next dollar, or they're always just looking for the next opportunity, or they're always looking for the next thing to do, but they have not embodied the word career. And the word career comes from identity. So let me give you an example. Let's say a man has looked at his life, and he's seeking God, and he says, God, please give me the strength, please give me the ability to listen to the calling that you have for me, so I can put my skills and my time where I need to. And let's say he starts to really, step into whatever he feels is best for himself, and he steps into all of these different things that he slowly starts to see. Okay, he steps into his God-given calling. He tries to get aligned in his faith, and because of that, he sees that doors open for him because he listened. And let's say he has an interest and a skill set in, let's say, aviation, and he decides to become a pilot. Okay, the reason why point number 2 is survive is because that man has now pursued a career which is rooted in identity because he listened to his God-given skill set. It's easier for him to survive. His survival is now amplified. So listen close. When you step into identity and calling, okay, survival becomes amplified because the monetary success that you achieve is a byproduct of following that calling. So maybe his first year as a pilot, maybe he makes 80 grand. But because he just loves being a pilot so much, and he sticks with that one thing for 20 years, and he tells himself, you know what, God gave me skills to be an amazing pilot. 20 years later, he looks down the road, and he's making millions of dollars per year because he pursued what he feels like he was meant to do. Okay, so this is how you have a good survival. You have a good survival as a man when you're aligned in faith and you pursue your God-given calling. I'm going to let you in on a little secret as well. This is also when you have the clearest, best conscience. Okay, because you feel as if you're not doing things and just putting your time into areas for your own gain, or because you see an opportunity. You actually know yourself and you know where you're going. You might be saying at this point in the video, Casey, how does this tie into if she's the hottest woman I've ever been with? How does this tie into that at the beginning of the video? How does that actually tie in? I'm going to show you, but you have to stick with me because this will all make sense in a second. When you seek God, it helps your survival. So that man is now aligned in his faith. As he's aligned in his faith, his survival is easier. He's making the type of money that he wants because his career path that he's chosen is rooted in identity, and he now has vision. So what comes with this? Being grounded in who you are, not having your emotions constantly in chaos, pulled in a million different directions because you don't have a path. Well, what happens when a woman sees that you have these character traits? She sees that you're stable and strong. Okay, now listen, there is a very big difference between short-term getting laid and having the rock-solid, rooted, masculine identity characteristics where a woman looks at you and goes, there is no way in hell I can replace him, or at least not very easily. Okay, there's a big difference between a woman finding a hot guy to just sleep with or have a fling with for a couple months and stuff fizzles out, and her actually finding a man that she's like, I'm so attached to this guy and his overall aura and being because he knows himself that it's so hard for me to replace him. Like, I'm so attracted to this guy, I can't leave him. That's the mindset you want her to be in. The only way you do this is if you get aligned on your survival. Women look at a man's survival value, and your internal confidence and your strength within yourself is stronger. Your survival value is more rooted in who you are when it's like made from identity. Okay, and this comes from you seeking God. Well, the last piece that you have to do then is just replicate. So if you get these first two pillars on point, number one, seek God, and number two, survival. What is survival? When you seek God, you have alignment with your beliefs and your actions, and who you are is who you say you are, and who you think you are is who you actually have became. Well, that's where your confidence comes from. So now you're the guy who is the same no matter who you are. And this is really important because being a human, okay, there's a lot of different pieces to you. Now all of a sudden you feel confident in your financial life and in your financial future. When you're socializing with people, you're happy with who you became. So it's easy for you to speak and to communicate and be free-flowing and have good open dialogue and conversation because you like who you are. Okay? This is common sense, but common sense is not always common practice. And then the last thing now is replicate, and that becomes very easy. You should be looking at every dating interaction that you go into and you say, what is this woman's character traits like? Could I see myself having a family with this woman? Like, at the end of the day, that's what like when you actually look at like reproduction, when you're with a woman in the bedroom, what is sex? Sex leads to reproduction. Think about that for a second. So replicate. That is the last piece of a man's life. If you're surviving and replicating, you typically have a good existence. When you see a lot of guys in a negative mindset because they can't get a girlfriend, well, they can't get a girlfriend or they can't attract a woman, which means they can't replicate. And typically it's because their character traits and their ability to have excellent survival, which is the second piece to my framework that I just showed you, is flawed. And it's flawed because it doesn't start at the top yet for them. And that is why you need to seek God. When you seek God, you can build a career and you can build an identity and you can build a purpose that's rooted in faith, which means you know who you are because you've listened to your God-given calling. Your survival gets better. You make the type of money that you want to make. You start naturally aligning yourself with people who have similar beliefs and similar talents. You build a community, you build a network, you build friends that are part of that social circle. You all of a sudden have direction and vision in life. That is awesome. That's a blessing. It's going to be almost hard for you not to attract women at that point, which means the replication piece, reproduction, is going to get easy because you have women that actually view you as a viable option, but it starts at the top. Most men are not seeking and pursuing their God-given faith the right way, and because of that, from the top down, okay, it's broken. Like the fundamental base of who they are is broken. It's not rooted in faith. This is extremely important to understand because when you do this, all of a sudden, you don't have to worry about saying the right thing. You become who you are. And you're going to notice that certain women, okay, really take to your personality positively. Now, as I approach my 30s, this is like a core framework. Like when I wake up each day, am I seeking God, and is this amplifying my survival? If it's amplifying my survival, keep doing it. You might be saying, well, Casey, at the beginning of this video, you told me that if she's the hottest woman that I've ever been with, I'm going to lose her. Listen close. The hottest woman that you're ever with or that you're with at the time, that you will lose. She's most likely a lesson in your life, because God wants to probably show you what you could have had if you would have been the masculine man that you know you need to be. This is what you will find, okay? Every single time in life that you go through that heartbreak or that you go through that painful experience or that you go through that situation with that woman where you thought she was so amazing, you will notice that if you really zoom out and you really zoom back and you really look at all the conversation, you were not focused on your higher up mission and vision and purpose. You were not pursuing God. She was your entire center. She was your entire center, and she could feel that. And because she could feel that weakness, she pulled away. She was probably a lesson. She was a lesson, and she was sent to you. And she was sent to you to show you where you need to get better. You see, anytime a woman exits your life, it's almost like a slap in the face in a quick hurry where you will be shown where you were flawed. You will start to see very quickly what went wrong if you have the wisdom to actually look inside yourself and say, hey, what can I do to get better? But it starts at the top. So this is my core framework that I'm living by, or that I have decided to live by as I start to approach my 30s. And because of that, because I believe that God has blessed me with certain skills in order to communicate messages to you, because I believe this, I have created my own community. And I created my community to help you learn, understand, and master the language of women. And one of the dudes in my community, a few days ago, he goes, this course transformed my whole life. And I realized girls is just a bonus you get when you got your life figured out and follow your calling to become the best version of yourself you can possibly become. This is the missing link for most men, is they are not pursuing their craft and their calling. And that's why she exits your life, is because she can see that she's the placeholder for that missing piece in your life, which is that calling, that purpose. She can see that she's became that center for you. And when she sees that, when she feels that, that's when you start to over communicate your interest level. That's why she pulls away from you. You are not pursuing excellence at what God has blessed you with. And when I look at my life, I just think that this is a really important message for me to make. And that's why, like, I just think it's amazing. Like, if you even look at the first sentence here when he says, this course transformed my whole life. I think a lot of times when we read stuff, we just read it and it goes in one ear and out the other. But if you actually look at those words, this course transformed my life. This is a man. This is a human being, okay, with his life. And when he says, this course transformed my whole life, that means that the way he's moving and operating is most likely different. It transformed his life. And I think we as men, we want life transformation. We want it. We claim we want it, but we don't take the action steps needed to get there. So because of that, I invite you to actually take that next step and join us inside the community that I built so I can help you learn, understand, and master the language of women. Because I have been making so many of these videos, I genuinely feel like I can help you. I think I've done this for so many years now that I think I teach this stuff better than anybody. And I believe in my heart of hearts that there's nobody better at teaching this than me. Because I don't know anybody else really that's dedicated this much time to actually talking about this stuff in the first place. So because this is like all I've done, because I really have not a lot of hobbies or interests. I like to lift weights. I like to shoot my bow that I have. You know, I have my select friends that I hang out with, but I really pursue my vision and my craft because I try to seek God. And there's been a lot of times in my life where I've been laying in bed at night and I feel like God has called me to do this stuff. And I want all of you to experience that too.